Good day, students. I hope you are all staying safe at your various locations, especially at this time of COVID-19. And I believe you are not just playing at home. You know your examination is around the corner, so you are expected to be up and doing. And that is the whole essence of this platform, just to keep you up to date on your studies. Today we are going to be looking at the components of basic education certificate examination in English studies, and that is the examination you are writing at the end of your JS3 studies. Below are the various aspects from which students are tested in BECE. The first is the comprehension passage, followed by the summary passage, lexis and structure, literature, spoken English, and essay writing. Now, to start with, the comprehension passage. This aspect tests the student on reading and understanding. The questions on this passage are multiple choice questions. You are going to have two passages which you are expected to read and understand, and that is the whole essence of the test on comprehension. The word comprehension, that is what it means, to understand. So you need to read and understand. Now it is your response or the way you answer your question that will be used to determine if you have truly read and understood. Then the summary, that tests your ability to differentiate between topic sentence and supporting sentence in a paragraph. Now, what is topic sentence? Topic sentence is the main sentence that carries the major topic in that sentence. That is, it is the main sentence that other sentences in the passage is talking about. The other sentences in the passage are regarded as the supporting sentences. Then under lexis and structure, this aspect tests the ability to use technical words. The question tests the usage of grammar, part of speech, correct use of articles, and preposition. There is the need to revise your part of speech for this aspect, because at times you make mistake. Even in class, at times when we ask you questions on part of speech, you still make mistakes. So there is a need to go and revise your parts of speech, starting from noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, adjective, preposition, conjunction, interjection, and so on and so forth. You need to revise all these because you will come across them in your examinations. And for the literature, under this literature, literature is divided into three arms that when you will be tested on prose, drama, and poetry. Now, for this, you have been given a series of books which you are expected to read in the course of this study, and those books include, for drama, you are given Vengeance of the Spirits by Maxwell, then Descent by Tade Adegbite, then the Rejected Child by Tina Bogu, and so on and so forth. Now, under drama, you meet series of questions from all these books, and if you have not read this book, you will not be able to answer those questions. So that's the reason why you need to read all the given text before the examination. Then for your prose, you'll be reading Save the African Womb by Nicole Chinelo, then Ogadima, then The Costly Mistake by Chinelo Ivesuli, and so on and so forth. Now, then for the poetry, you are given some poems, and which we have some like Let My Mother Sing by Fọlọ́runṣọ́ Moshood, The Thief Is One of Us by Shola Olatunji, The Unsporty Commissioner by E.E. Sanyaolu, and so on and so forth. You are going to have questions on that too. Then you'll be tested on literary devices. This can come in from the poems. For example, you can have a kind of expression from one of those poems, and the question will ask you to mention the literary device used in the expression. For example, you will walk through fire and you will not be harmed. If they ask you what figure of speech is used in that expression, what will be your answer? That is metaphoric, and you have that as a metaphor. So that is that on literature. So proceed to spoken English. The students are tested on the sounds of English language. The sounds are 44 in numbers, which is divided into consonant and vowel, where we have 24 consonant sounds and 20 vowel sounds. And the vowel sounds are further divided into diphthongs and monophthongs. So you'll be tested on these two. This simply means that you have to master the sounds, so that whenever you come across any, you'll be able to know the word that can be an example of those sounds. Then the next aspect is essay writing. Questions are set on different types of composition, such as narrative, descriptive, argumentative, letter writing, and so on and so forth. Under this aspect, you are expected to write 2 essays in your examination. Note that the length of your essay should not be less than 200 words for JS3 class. So whatever you're writing, you should write up to 200 words. Then let's proceed to the 4 main areas of assessment. That is, how your essay are marked. We have these divided into 4 categories. The first is the content, followed by the organization, then the expression, and lastly the mechanical accuracy. Now, whenever you have your essay written, it is marked under these 4 items. The first one there, which is content, 4 marks is allocated, and for the organization also 4 marks, expression 8 marks, and mechanical accuracy 4 marks, making 20 altogether. 4, 4, 8, 4. So if a student scored 2 in content, 2 in organization, and let's say 4 in expression and mechanical accuracy 1, that is 2, 2, 4, 1. That is 10 over 20. So that is how the mark it is allocated. Now let's talk about all these items one after the other. The first one is the content. What do you understand by the word content? This refers to the information given. You are required to give information concerning a particular subject or topic which you are writing on. It is the most important part of the essay writing. It is important that students have adequate knowledge of the topic before writing. This is just trying to tell you that before you embark on writing, you should understand that topic very well. That is what will give you an idea of what to write on. Not that you just begin to write and at the end of the day you get to the midway and you discover that you don't have anything to write again. And I think that has been happening to a lot of students in their previous exercises, where that is why you will now be unable to write up to 200 words. But when you have the adequate knowledge about the information before you embark on writing, then you have enough points to write. and you be able to develop your write-up to up to 200 words. So that is for content, the information you are required to write on that given topic. The second one is the organization. This is the way different aspects of the essay are organized so as to get a complete whole. Every essay must have an introduction, body, and conclusion. Now, under this organization, for example, if you are writing a kind of expository essay, for example, let's assume you are trying to describe or to give a detailed information on how a particular thing is prepared. For example, you want to talk about how to prepare your favorite meal. Now, you get the items needed, you list out the items needed for that. Then you now begin to give us step by step of the application of those items. Now, let's now assume you probably missed a step which should have come earlier, because you are almost at the end of the write-up. You now decided to add it to it. In that case, you are spoiling your organization, because that means you are bringing something that should have come earlier at the end. So that is all what we look at under organization. Then the next is expression. This refers to the language used in communicating your ideas on paper. You should write in clear, correct, and appropriate English. Your expression carries 8 marks, and under this expression we are looking at the language used. That is, how have you been able to communicate your idea? Are you able to use correct English, or do you make blunders in your writing, and so on and so forth? All those are what we are looking at under expression. And lastly, there is mechanical accuracy. This is where many students make a lot of mistakes, because many fail to read through their work after writing. Now, under mechanical accuracy, you are expected to make the right use of your punctuation marks, then your spelling error. All those things are look out for. Now let's continue. The mistakes are ranked, and if they are up to 12, a student gets 0/4 for mechanical accuracy. The noted errors or rankable errors are mistake in spellings, tenses, wrong use of pronoun, punctuation, capitalization, and so on and so forth. All these errors listed here are most errors that we see whenever we mark your write-up. For example, some of you begin a proper noun with small letter. Now, the first letter of that proper noun will be ranked for you. For example, you want to write Michael, and you are now starting with a small letter. That small m will be ranked for you, and at the end of the day, that will be deducted under your mechanical accuracy. Then tenses, where you are supposed to use the present tense, when you use the past tense, or where you are supposed to use the past tense, you use the present tense, it will be noted and your mark will be deducted. Wrong use of pronoun, you use she where you are supposed to use he, it will be noted and it will be deducted from your mark. Then mistakes in spellings too, when you make spelling mistake, it will be deducted from your mark. So that is why it is advisable that whenever you are through with that with your write-up, take your time, take the pain to go through, to read through. By the time you are doing that, you will be able to see some errors, maybe of omission, or where you are supposed to have a punctuation mark which you have omitted, and so on and so forth. So that is that on mechanical accuracy. So you need to take your time to read through your work so that it will be error free. So that is that on introduction to BECE, and telling us the various aspects from which the questions are coming from, then how your essays are marked. Now we are going to proceed to letter writing, and we are starting with the formal letter. Letter writing. Now, formal letter. This is a letter is just a means of communication. We all know that whenever you're writing a letter, it is just to communicate with somebody. Now, for formal letter, now, if you have the communication for informal letter is just between you and probably your friends or relatives, but for formal letter, this is a kind of serious business. That is, you write this to people in position of authority. Now let's look at what we have here. Formal letter is a means of communication, and it is written to people in position of authority to discuss official matters. Therefore, it is regarded as official letter. This makes it to be a straight letter that gives no room for familiarity or exchange of pleasantry. A formal letter can be written from an individual to an organization to an individual, or from an organization to another organization. The language of a formal letter is strictly formal. The use of abbreviation and short forms are not allowed. All words must be written in full. Now, we have discussed the definition of formal letter as official letter because they are used to treat matters that are official. And now talking about the language, that is, it is strictly formal language whenever you're writing such a letter. Now, this aspect is now telling us about all words must be written in full. That is, the use of abbreviation are not allowed. Now let's look at the examples we have here. Now we have wasn't, which should be was not. Whenever you're writing a formal letter, wasn't should not be used. It should be was not. The same thing to isn't. You should write it in full. Is not. Can't. You should have cannot. Shouldn't. Should not. And so on and so forth. Then, some of you are fond of bringing in your ideas on the internet or your social media platform. The way you chat there, you mistakenly bring them in to the classroom or to your essay writing. That's when you see somebody writing before, and the person will claim that to be before. This is not accepted in writing. You write your before, not be and figure 4. Then some of you are fond of using that to replace you. This is not allowed. Then we have because or cause for because. It should be because, not cause. Then why for why. This is not allowed. You write your why in full. Then later. We have a lot of those abbreviations. Please make sure that you don't bring this into your essay writing. Now, another one is acronyms and initialization. Acronyms and initialization must be written in full. Now, examples of acronyms include WAEC, AIDS, COVID. Now, all these are acronyms. What are acronyms? These are the initials of words that can be called together. For example, WAEC, we call it together WAEC. But for initialization, you pronounce the first letters of of the abbreviation. For example, we have PHCN here. That is initialization because we are calling it one after the other. PHCN. That is initialization. But WAEC is acronym because we are able to call that together. So whenever you have any need to write any of these, whether acronym or initialization, make sure that you write them out in full. Then you can write the acronym or initialization in brackets, but make sure that you write out the full meaning in your essay. For AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. COVID, coronavirus immune deficiency, and so on and so forth. WHO, World Health Organization, EFCC, Economic and Financial Crime Commission. Whenever you have the need to write initialization or anything that has to do with any of these, write them out in full, and you can put the initialization of acronym in brackets. Now let's proceed to the features of a formal letter. The first one there is the writer's address with date, followed by the designation and receiver's address, then salutation, then heading, the body, and complimentary clause. Now let's begin with the writer's address with date. Writer's address is located at the top right hand side corner of the paper. It is followed by the date. The address should be well written and punctuated. Note that punctuation errors are marked down under mechanical accuracy. You should therefore punctuate appropriately. Now this is just telling us about the need to ensure that the address is well punctuated. Now let's look at this example. The writer's address here: Federal Science and Technical College, comma. That first comma there should not be omitted. Then Itamogiri, followed by another comma. Ijebu Imoshin, another comma. Ogun State, full stop. Then the date: 28 May, comma, 2020, full stop. So that is how the address should be written. Take note of the punctuation: Federal Science and Technical College, comma, Itamogiri, comma, Ijebu Imoshin, another comma, Ogun State, full stop. 28 May, comma, 2020, full stop. That is writer's address. Now look at this place where we have Ijebu Imoshin. You can see an hyphen between Ijebu and Imoshin. What does this imply? This simply tells us that Ijebu Imoshin is just a compound name. That is, this hyphen is joining two words together to make it one, just to indicate that it is one word. So it is one place, that is Ijebu Imoshin. But we don't have hyphen in Ogun State because that is not a compound name. I hope that is cleared. Alright, let's proceed. After the writer's address, we'll proceed to designation and receiver's address. This is located at the left hand side of the paper below the writer's address. Designation tells the position of the receiver in the organization. The address should be well written and punctuated. Okay, now this says designation and receiver's address comes immediately below the writer's address, and the designation is just telling us the position of the person we are writing to. If the person is the principal, if the person is the chairman, if the person is the manager, if it's honorable minister, and so on and so forth. That is designation. Then the address of the office of the person. Let's see that in the format. Yeah, we have an example here. The principal, Federal Science and Technical College, Itamogiri, Ijebu Imoshin, Ogun State. That is designation and receiver's address. The designation there is the principal, then followed by the address. Okay, the next is the salutation. This comes below the receiver's address. It is a brief salute to the recipient of the letter. However, it is dear sir or dear madam followed by a comma for formal letter. Now whenever you're writing the salutation for formal letter, it is always dear sir or dear madam. Now what happens when you don't know the gender of the person you want to write to? Are you going to write dear sir / dear madam? No, simply leave it at dear sir. You will not be penalized for that. Alright, let's proceed. So this is where this is located in the format. Dear sir. Okay, now let's proceed to the heading or title. The heading. This is usually brief and straight to point. It gives the reader an insight of the content of the letter. It should be written in capital letters. When written in small letters, it should be underlined. Now, this heading is just something that briefly tells the reader about the contents of the letter. When you have a good heading, the reader already knows what the content of the letter is likely to be. So that is why it is said that it should give the reader an insight of the letter, of the content of the letter rather. So when you write this in capital letter, do not underline, but when you write it in small letters, you should underline. And note that whenever you are having your heading, you shouldn't put a full stop, because it is not a sentence. So make sure that you don't put a full stop at the end of your heading. So let's see, we have an example here. Heading: the need to curtail the spread of coronavirus. That is an example of an heading here. Okay, let's proceed. The body. This is where the main reason for the letter is discussed. It should be written in paragraphs, where a topic sentence is discussed in each of the paragraphs. Note that the body is written in correct English and should be well punctuated. The use of slang or any form of informal language is not allowed. Now, this is talking about the body of the letter. Previously, we mentioned something about abbreviation and all that. Now, if you have any need to write initialization or acronyms, make sure that you write them out in full. Then for the use of slang or informal language, these are totally not allowed. So make sure that you write your body in correct English, and it should be well punctuated. Now let's see the example of the body we can have for this topic we have here. Now we need to talk about the need to curtail the spread of coronavirus. Now you can talk about how the virus spreads. You can talk about the need to stop the spread. Then how to stop the spread, or how can we prevent it from spreading. Now you break all this into paragraphs, and that makes your body. And at the end of the day, you conclude your the body. You have a conclusion. Then after that, you proceed to the complementary clause. Now the complementary clause is usually yours faithfully for formal letter, followed by a comma, and it is written on the right hand side of the paper. You have the writer's signature on the next line, and on the last line the writer's full name, followed by a full stop. Now let's look at the example. Yes, we have the complementary clause below here. That's where we have the yours faithfully. Now note that the F of your faithfully should be written in small letter. Then after that, after yours faithfully, you have a comma, and after the comma you go to the next line to append the signature of the writer, and after the signature you write the writer's full name. In this case, you have to write the full name. Unlike in informal letter, you can write only the first name, where you write only the first name. But in this case, you are expected to write your full name. So that is that about formal letter. You started with the writer's address, Federal Science and Technical College, comma, Itamogiri, comma, Ijebu-Mushin, comma, Ogun State, full stop. Please take note of the punctuation. Don't make punctuation mistake, because it will be ringed, and that will be a deduction. That will bring about deduction in your mark. Then the date, 28th May, comma, 2020. Now look at the th of the date. It shouldn't be up. it should be down with the date. By the time you put the th up, it is telling us another thing. It is no more a date, but it becomes a position, and we are not talking about position here. Now if you are talking about position, that means you are telling us that one day is better or superior to another day. That is that is the essence of picking position. When you have a race and you are picking first, second, third, that means you are picking the best. But in this case, we are just talking about the days of the month. So no day is better or superior to another day. So that is why you just have to put the th down here. Now for the designation and receiver's address, we have the Honorable Minister, Ministry of Education, State Secretariat, Okemoson, Abeokuta, Ogun State. Now look at how it is punctuated. The Honorable Minister, comma, Ministry of Education, comma, State Secretariat, comma, Okemoson, comma, Abeokuta, Ogun State. So you can see how it is punctuated. Now the other time I said something about the compound noun, which we have in Ijebu Mushin. That is, why do we have hyphen between Ijebu and Mushin? And the same thing is applicable to Okemoson here. We have Oke hyphen Moson. Now this is just telling us that this Oke and Moson is just a name. So the hyphen there is just to join those words together. So that is that about that. Then for the salutation, dear sir, I've explained that you use dear sir or dear madam. But when you don't know the gender of the person you're writing to, you just simply write dear sir. Then for your heading, the heading or title should be written in capital letter. If you have to write that in small letter, then you will underline. And make sure that your heading is not a sentence, and so you don't put a full stop at the end. And it should be something that will give the reader an insight of what the content of the letter is. When the reader picks it, he or she should be able to know that, okay, this letter I'm about to read is, we'll be talking about this and this. Alright, so then the body, you see how we break it down. So it is all this breakdown now that you now use to develop your paragraphs. And for the complementary clause, we have yours faithfully. And take note, the F of faithfully is small letter, followed by the signature and the writer's full name. That'll be all for today, and in our next class we'll continue on another topic. So for this class, I want to give you an assignment on what we have done today. So the assignment is write an outline for this question. Write a letter to the Minister of Health stating measures that can be taken to curb the menace of COVID-19. And note, you are not expected to write the essay in full. Just write out the outline using the given format, just like we did the other time. After writing all the address and all that, break the points you intend to develop in each of those paragraphs. Just point them out like we have in that format. Thank you, and thanks for listening. Have a nice day.